But let's move on now. Today is World Intellectual Property Day. It's a day celebrated globally, and Nigeria obviously is joining in to celebrate this as a country in the world. And we see that it's on the 26th of April of every year. Events are organized to mark the day to seek and inform people about the role of intellectual property, and then of course issues around copyright, trademarks, act, patents and designs, and all of that. For this year, 2023, the focus is women and IP, accelerating innovation and creativity, celebrating the can-do attitude of women inventors, creators, and entrepreneurs around the world and their groundbreaking work. Well, let's get to this now. We're going to have two women discuss this with us. Let's start virtually with Chioma Ogbonna, the founder of a songwriting community of Nigeria. She joins us virtually now to discuss this. Hi, Chioma. Happy IP World IP Day, I guess, as we say. How are you celebrating it?
Well, I am here to have this conversation. I guess that is how I'm celebrating it today. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Chioma. So, is this really being celebrated in Nigeria, or are we just joining the chorus? I mean, how real is it to Nigerians, the issue of intellectual property protection? How real is it in the everyday running? You're a songwriter, you deal with a lot of creative that need to be protected. How real is it in your circle of work?
I'd say it's actually very real, because as creatives, we tend to trivialize the work that we do. And because in quotes, it seems easy. It's not like you have to pay for the creative process, like to create a song. You literally just sit in your room and you write a song and it exists. You know, it's not like unlike landed property and other kinds of assets that you have to buy. It's just creating. So somehow there is the temptation to want to trivialize it, but really we actually take the issues of copyright protection very seriously, because how we succeed as songwriters is hinged on that. So yeah, I take it pretty seriously.
In the studio here, Chinyere Okorocha, the pioneer chairperson of the IP committee of the NBA SBL and a sterling member of the Nigerian intellectual property community. Good to have you in the studio. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Great.
Nice to be here.
So, thank you. So, how knowledgeable are Nigerians about their rights when it comes to copyright, patents, and all those kind of intellectual properties?
Okay, so intellectual property obviously is the area of the law that deals with creations of the mind. And I think the ones that people know the most are the copyright, which deals with, okay, the singers, the musicians, the playwrights, movies and all that. That's copyright. But there are other types of IP, that is trademarks, that are the brand names, the names of products, goods and services you see around. The patents, which are inventions, which can include medicines, the engine of your phone, your iPad, and all that. Those are inventions that help human endeavors. And then you have industrial designs, and then trade secrets. So you think that everybody is aware, but the awareness level is not where we want it to be. You know, so once we're aware that these things exist and that you shouldn't copy or counterfeit other people's inventions, it still goes on. It's very rampant in the third world countries, you know, and so we have to have laws in place that protect people's creativity and innovation so that they can take economic benefit from anything they create.
And I hear this is a form of discouragement for SMEs, because, I mean, in Nigeria, you have a lot of innovative and creative individuals. So people have this idea, and before you know it, it's everywhere. How much of a problem is it? We see that globally, the intellectual property right market is worth about $8.2 billion. And here in Nigeria, I don't know if we scratched the surface of that markets?
Okay, so I think internationally their markets are saturated. So that makes the third world countries like Nigeria, in quotes, a good ground for investment for companies, you understand. And then our creative industry is in its infancy stages, really. So we have a lot of inventions and creations. And in the past, we lost them to the international community. So I'll give you an example. The yam pounder is allegedly created, or was, yes, created by a Nigerian. But someone from the Western world took it, went back to his country, you know, registered the patent, and then sold it back to us. So it's a big problem. A lot of people don't know that you can actually have economic benefit from whatever it is you create. So in relation to your question about SMEs, yes, people have ideas, you know, they're creative, they create something, but counterfeiting is very rampant. And so the advice that we usually give is, no matter how small your invention is or how small your business is, seek proper legal advice to protect yourself. Because in Nigeria, we do have laws that can help you protect your intellectual property assets. Either it's, in fact, there's a new Copyright Act, 2022. We're so happy it was signed into law recently, you know, which even expands the type of protection you can have for your creations to include this digital world that we're all in. You know, there are quite a few innovative steps in this new act, although some of the other intellectual property acts or the legislations are outdated. For example, the trademark one is the Act of 1967, and our Patent and Design Act is 1970. But we're very happy that at least the Copyright Act is up to date, 2022, so that's not bad at all. So the will is there. It takes organizations like the Section on Business Law of the Nigerian Bar Association to continue to do advocacy, to sensitize the public as to the need to protect your innovations, explaining what intellectual property is. You know, Nigeria has a robust system, even though execution is always a problem. You know, so I was the inaugural chairperson of the Intellectual Property Committee under the Section on Business Law of the Nigerian Bar Association. And during my tenure, as well as, you know, subsequent administrations, we're constantly holding programs to sensitize the public on their IP rights. We also hold trainings for judges.
But I hear you guys charge too much. So this protection could cost more than 600,000. I mean, where would a young individual who just has a creative idea get more than 600,000 to pay for this protection? Perhaps that's why they leave it lying just there.
I don't know where you got your statistics from. I don't think to register, for example, a trademark or a patent or a design or even copyright is 600,000, you know.
How much is it then?
I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head.
Because I did some finding, because that's what I got. So I will happily be corrected.
So the question is, why is it that it's only when it comes to payment for legal services that we kind of now remember that something is expensive? I can tell you, trying to get your intellectual property back from somebody who has stolen it, or you know, to defend a case of infringement, is far more costly than what it will cost you to register in the first place. There's so many cases that we have where you only come to us after the fact. You understand? In which case, you're going to end up paying more than if you had registered and protected your intellectual property ab initio, or from the scratch. That's what that means, you know. So let's protect the things that are important. Let's make sacrifices. That's what I tell young business owners, you know, particularly women, because this year, the World Intellectual Property Day, the theme is about women and IP, you know, and all that, you know, so we're bringing women to the forefront. Yeah. And women are already disadvantaged, you know, by reason of the mere fact that you're a woman, you don't have the right access, the same access to resources as our male folk. Have you ever tried to get a loan from a bank as a woman or a young entrepreneur? You know, so you have to take steps to protect your intellectual property. Okay. It's one of the things you need to budget for in your business.
Okay. You still didn't tell me how much. But let's not forget Choma. Choma is there. Talking about young entrepreneurs. Choma, a songwriter. We've had some cases of some artists, you know, suing the other because they use their tunes, use some of their lines, lyrics in the song. And so can we say that in your space, you are more enlightened, as members of your community are more enlightened and are more protective of their intellectual properties?
Yeah, I would say that we do a lot to educate members of my community, because we know that the fact that you have an idea does not automatically protect the idea itself. You actually have to take steps to put it into a fixed format. You also have to take steps to make sure that you protect it. So being a songwriter and being in our community means that you have to learn all the requirements of protecting your song. So that is something that we really take very serious in our community.
So how much legal services do you engage? Because, I mean, you did hear Mr. Okorocha talking about getting the legal protection from the scratch and not waiting until there's a happenstance.
Yeah, so we one of the things we try to do is to actually have lawyers amongst us. I have a legal background, like apart from like the fact that I'm a songwriter, like I studied law. So most times people come to me and have questions about, oh, so what do I need to do? I just have this song that I wrote. Somebody wants me to write a song. I'm going for a songwriting camp. So we also have other lawyers that actually practice in our community that give legal advice, so that you know exactly what to do, how to track your contribution in a songwriting process. For example, in a camp where there are many other songwriters, and you don't want your idea to be lost in the bulk of ideas that are being thrown around. You also want to ensure that if you contributed, you are able to specifically say, this is what I contributed to this song, and this is the percentage that I will get in terms of the split from that song that is written. So these are things that we ensure that people pay attention to. You don't just say, oh, because you're a creative, you get into a space and you just pour your heart out and you say it's passion. You have to also consider the legal implications of those contributions that you make in every room and at every point in time.
All right, Choma Ogbonna, the founder of Songwriting Community of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time, and once again, happy World IP Day.
Same to you. Thank you so much.
All right, we also have to thank you so much, Chinyere Okorocha, pioneer chairperson of IP Committee in the MBA SBL, and also a sterling member of the intellectual property community. Thank you so much for your time this morning, and also happy IP Day.
Happy World IP Day.
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
All right, let's take a break now. When we come back, it'll be commodities time with Afex right after this.